Welcome to the Industry Angel Podcast. We hear from the best business minds across the globe, entrepreneurs, social influencers, marketing mavens, and sales rock stars. We've got them all. Here comes your weekly dose of inspiration with your host, Ian Farah.
Hi, Glyn.
Hi.
Do we need to shake hands?
Possibly.
Sounds good. Andrew, can you turn the fire off, please?
Right now? Right now? Of course I can.
It looked really good on Facebook Live, but it hums and it's really warm. Thanks, bud. Okay, then, so we're going to have listeners here who can't see us. So this is going to be a podcast maybe in a week or so's time. We're recording this. I have press recordly, haven't I? Yes. Yeah. I normally don't. This is going to be going out maybe a week or so's time on the podcast, so you'll be able to listen back to it. But I've got a few notes here, so I need to tell people who can't visually see how awesome this is, what we're doing. So we're live at Anfield Plain in Durham at Harlands Christmas event, which is winter themed and looks amazing. So if you listen to this, you really need to check out the video or the pictures. So we've gatecrashed the party, and I'm joined with the Managing Director of Harlands Accountants, Glyn Davison. Okay, thanks for inviting us, Glyn. Now, I literally have to get this elephant or polar bear out of the room. Like, what's going on? What's all this about?
Darren, that's what it's about. Darren's brain, which is complex. His idea, his vision.
Okay.
I don't quite know where it came from originally, but this is a brainchild of Darren, who's looks after all of our marketing. So,
And Darren, is he hiding?
probably is somewhere.
Is he hiding? Does he need a round of applause for this?
Yeah,
Is it,
definitely.
there he is.
Yeah,
Woo! And Arno and Elsa are coming a little bit later on as well, so we'll get some selfies with them. Okay then, Glyn, you've been here 27 years, man and boy,
Yep.
and you started here when you were about 30.
Enough of that.
I enjoyed that.
Stephen just said before that there was a bit of grey coming through. Thanks for that, Stephen.
So come on then, 27 years ago, yeah?
Yeah, 1992 when I started.
Fresh out of your studies, or?
Pretty much.
Okay.
What happened was I did accounts at A level at Downside College, and the tutor there had a relationship with one of the partners at Harlands at the time in terms of referring. What he said was the better A level students, but I think you said that about everyone who's
Okay.
in this class. So I had an option of joining the firm to do my professional exams and working, or going to university. I had 2 or 3 university places lined up, and I chose to work and do my exams that route. So yeah, that's where
Wow.
it started.
Can you remember then?
A little.
Yeah,
A little.
similar to yesterday maybe?
No, not as clear as that.
No. So I know you guys at Harlands are really passionate about the Northeast, and I really wanted to start there with you. So, what does the Northeast mean to you?
A lot. Personally, I was born in a pit village, Burnhope, local here. So in terms of my background and progressing through, I learned a hell of a lot and met some brilliant people. That's one of the positives of working for a professional services firm. You meet some outstanding people in brilliant businesses, and that inspires you. And it also teaches you can kind of achieve anything. So in terms of the Northeast, I do feel that sometimes we don't have high enough aspirations.
Okay.
We kind of stop. And that kind of drives me because there's some brilliant businesses here, and trying to encourage that to keep going, keep going, reach for the stars, and bring that back to the Northeast because of my roots is a big deal. And I think there's a lot of people within the firm who feel in a similar way.
And what's really good as well, you look out here at all these friends who are doing so well, suppliers, partners. It's fantastic, isn't it? And you see some familiar faces, stop smiling. But it's really, the support is amazing, and everybody wants each other to do well.
Yeah, I think if you look at the economic stats, then Northeast has not performed well as a region across the UK.
Okay.
Now, breaking that down as to why, that's the part that we like getting involved with. There is no logical reason now, when technology is the way that it is, that we can't perform at the same levels. And I think we need to work on the belief, and I see that as part of our role.
That's a nice segue into this question that I wrote down, because on your LinkedIn profile, don't look worried, LinkedIn, not Facebook, on your LinkedIn profile, your headline is "Helping clients everywhere build a better business by constantly changing the role and perception of an accountant." Yeah, it sounds good, that, doesn't it?
It does.
But tell us about that. What do you mean by that?
Again, introduce myself to lots of people, and as soon as you say what you do and you use the word accountant, then it creates images of what an accountant does,
Okay.
which normally are retrospective, calculator, grey. We've asked this question. That's the perception that is in people's minds. That's not what we do. It's definitely not what Harlands do. And our job is to make sure we can communicate that out to the clients that we deal with and the other partners that we deal with. That is only part of what we do. And it's not the main part of what we do. It's not the part that has the most impact. It's not the part that helps businesses grow most. So that's where it comes from.
So you realise our listener numbers have just plummeted. All the accountants are just like off.
Yeah, that's your job. Yeah.
So what are you passionate about? So obviously you studied accountancy, but what you've alluded to there is you feel really passionate about the businesses and about helping them to achieve what they want. So how do you do that? How does Harlands do that?
Well, in a number of ways, and again, we've got a lot stronger in terms of articulating how we add value. The profession in itself went through a phase of talking about increasing profit. It doesn't quite cut it. It is one of the parts that we do, but it's really hard to quantify. So which bit of your advice actually contributed to more profit in a client's business? Really hard to pin it down. So we've moved in trying to track some measures that would give us a bit better understanding of that. And we're measuring GVA now, which is gross value add, which forms part of, we're getting a bit statty here, but does form part of the economic output statistics. So if you hear in political circles and government circles and talking about the economic output, that's how they'll calculate it out of all the stuff that businesses do ultimately, and that will be GVA. So we measure that for our clients, and GVA consists of profit, depreciation, which tracks what people have spent on assets, as well as the salary run. So some businesses don't make a huge amount of profit, but they employ hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people because they're reinvesting. So you've got to look at the whole thing. So we track GVA to be able to identify, right, this is the impact we are making for our clients. So how much does that GVA in our client base move year on year? And how does that compare with the national average, the Northeast average? And by being a client of Harlands, are we impacting your GVA more than if you were a client of another accountancy firm? That's how we track it.
So where does that idea come from? Like, were you guys mindful of, I need to have a return on investment, I need to be a bit more transparency about, or a bit more of a USP?
Without
and is
doubt,
that where it come from?
differentiating in the accountancy sector is tricky. We essentially, profit and loss account balance sheets are one of the key service lines. Creating them, doing them, producing them, submitting them is one of the things that we would do. Differentiating that, if you're a qualified accountant and you've got a decent practice, then everyone can do that. So that's not the bit you can differentiate. You've got to add something else. And our bag is to be able to tell people and quantify what it is that we add with the advice part of what we do, not the compliance part of what we do. So that's where it comes from.
Let's go back a little bit then. So you're the MD now. Obviously, you weren't 27 years ago.
No.
How has that journey gone? How has the business changed across those years?
Fundamental. So let's go back to 92. I was pretty good at making tea then. Still am, to be fair. Probably more a coffee man now.
Whoever made my coffee wasn't.
Yeah.
Hands up. Is that you?
Who was that? Yeah. I could probably make a good guess.
Sorry.
So yeah, then again, you're a trainee accountant. You are very much. It was very hierarchical. So you're coming in right at the bottom, and most of the processes, if not all, were manual. And by manual, I mean paper-based. So preparing a set of accounts and ending up with a profit and loss and balance sheet set of statements that end up going to the client, that was a manual process. Literally pen, paper, calculator, till roll, that kind of stuff, or calculator roll. There was one PC at the time, shared by about 8 people, and you used it for one part of the process, the tax calculations, which actually when I joined I really liked, and I didn't understand why are we using paper for all this stuff when this works way faster?
Lotus 1, 2, 3.
Oh, brilliant.
Everyone's like, what's that?
Yeah. And again, what happened over the first period was that we had an impact of Sage, another Northeast fantastic company. And Sage for small businesses at the time started to penetrate that market in 92 onwards into early part of 2000s. And I really grasped that because it made it easier for the client, and we could get data out faster. So we didn't have to wait till year end, do the accounts, and then work out how much money they'd made. That doesn't seem to make sense to me. So that impacted hugely, and it still has. We've took that through to some of the strategic goals we have now. The accounting system that a client uses or a business uses is fundamental. And so fast forward to now, technology has, over the last 5-10 years, hugely impacted that. Every one of our guys here has 3 screens. Everything we do is digital. We want clients to submit digital information to us. We don't want paper. And we don't want the clients to have paper either. So actually impacting their financial system and showing them how technology can make things simpler is really fundamental. To a point now where some of our proposals that we're putting out there are comparing the cost of a finance team with the cost of fully outsourcing that, so that they don't have a finance team, which sounds a bit weird, but you can do that with technology. So you've gone from fully paper-based processes with one computer process in it, all the way through to fully digital, where you don't actually need any people at the client end. That's the extreme of the change.
So from a Harlands point of view then, do you guys need to keep up to speed with all the latest technologies? Are you testing and trying stuff out internally?
All the time. Okay. Again, we're big fans of Xero. Those guys changed the game again. So you look at Sage first time round, I was familiar with the impact that had. You've then got the impact of cloud, and Xero being the first people who got it right. They switched that and actually turned the light on the advisors, us, and the client. And they wrote it from a client end. So they actually said to clients, what would be easier? Rather than these data and these menus, what would be easier for you? So it's quite a nice interface, and clients absolutely love it. As soon as you got a client loving their accounting software, our job becomes so much easier. Yeah. Because they're interested. Yeah. Show us that. Excellent. So we don't have to do that now. They do that. So that has been brilliant.
Good.
Love that.
We start at the beginning, you jump to the end, you keep missing out the middle bit. Okay. I'm really interested, like obviously what accountancy does, the technology behind it. What about you, Glyn, as a person, in terms of the challenges you've been through and how you've grew as a person and a leader?
Yeah, huge. Professional services, as I said, is hierarchical. So that's how it was in the 90s. You earn your spurs, you move up we still have lots of grades. So you move from trainee to junior to semi-senior, all those kind of role titles. Did all those actually faster than anyone else who'd been part of the firm. Not blowing me on trumpet, but
but just blowing your own trumpet then.
I was pretty good. There's a couple of people who are in the firm now who are kind of challenging my record in terms of not failing an exam. Okay. But pretty much I knew the first time I came across accountancy as a subject was that they offered it at my school, which was Greencroft at the time, doesn't exist now, as GCSE, and they'd never ran it before. I didn't even know what it was. But from the first couple of weeks, I just got it. And we still use that phrase now, even in an interview process. You either get accounts or you don't. That's fundamentally believe that. And I get it. And I always have. So that helped me. I just know. I could look at a balance sheet and I just know. And that helped me to a point, because that's all about me and what I do. Then what happened is, as I grew and as took on more clients, built my own client portfolio within a professional services firm, and you have to work with other partners, which there are a number of people in the room who have to work with other partners. It ain't easy all of the time, especially where you've got fairly intelligent people with high IQ who all have an opinion. To try and make decisions in a partnership is tricky.
Very diplomatic. Well done.
Thanks. Been here before many times.
Okay then, thinking about those challenges then that you've had across these decades. Yeah,
decades.
That's scarier.
It is a bit.
Is there anything that really sticks out from an MD's point of view?
I think, people.
Okay.
And
sorry,
culture.
guys.
Not in a bad way, in a good way.
Okay.
Building something cohesive around something, and we have this phrases out there, millennials, whatever you want to call them. I don't believe that you can't define every individual by a group when they were born. It doesn't work for me. But what does work is that what drives people changes. So as a leader, you got to tap into that. That has been incredibly difficult to understand when you've got a mixed demographic. You've got some people who have been with the firm a long time, very technically minded and very good, but not that comfortable with change. And you've got a lot of people who are really comfortable with change, but haven't yet learned the technical skills. How do you build that into a cohesive culture and a team that works going forward? That has been extremely difficult and challenging, in a good way, but not easy. And you have to learn a lot as a leader to be able to do that. You become less, as a leader, you can't impact the here and now as much. So you've got to think about how you can put in place things that influence And influence doesn't happen right now. It happens kind of down the line. So that in itself has been a challenge, and we're still working on that. But I'd like to think we're getting better and better as a team. And having good people around you who are willing to challenge that, able to challenge that, want to challenge that, is part of that. You've got to keep on learning. The leader cannot sit there and go, I know everything. And in professional services, that does happen. You can't. You've got to keep on learning faster than anyone else. And that isn't easy these days. So
I'm smiling away here because I just want to know that the golden question here is, well, how do you do that? How do you get that strategy right? How do you make Phil's smiling around the corner? What kind of things have you put in place then?
Around people we spent the last 12 months, really, and we didn't get this right initially. There were lots of things the business needed to do, and we approached them fairly systematically, prioritized, and we kind of went through brand strategy in terms of what we're working for. And I believe we had to do it in that order. And then we focused a lot on people, and it's about listening. But how do you listen to all of those people all at once? How do you gather that information and change? If you actually look at culture and define it, it's quite hard. It's not that easy. So what we've done is try to involve people in change. We've put in place some working groups. So working groups with driven towards, we have 5 strategic goals. So we'll have a working group that is set up to do one thing that takes us towards that strategic goal. And we ask people from across the business to get involved. That's one way that we can get everybody to understand the strategy, get involved with it, and feel part of it. And that culturally is a big thing for us. If you want to change and get change happening on the ground, you've got to get people involved with it, rather than just ask them and say, what do you want to do? Get involved with a working group, and that working group might be dealing with one topic, but it allows them to see how they can impact, what they can add. So that's one example of the stuff that we do. Communicate as well, all the time, consistently. And again, go back every 6-7 years. We're trying to teach too much and trying to talk about strategy kind of too generically. It's really hard for people to understand. Just go, yeah, I'll go back to doing what I was doing before. So you've got to break it down and make it simple. That's another key message. How do you make a strategy simple enough? So change the role and perception of accounting came from that. We want people to repeat that. We want that stuck in their head, because if somebody asks you that question, you can talk about why. Why do we do that? Why is that important to us? Yeah. And as a leader, that's important. You want those conversations going on every single day. That isn't easy to do. And again, professional services, you build relationships with clients, and they tend to be lucrative. So we have some lucrative clients in the room that we work with. Good. So in professional services, it was traditionally time-based. Yeah. So you fill your timesheet in, and partners have fairly high charge-out rates, so you need loads of chargeable hours. That's what you drilled. That's what you taught. That's how you do it. That doesn't lead a business. So that is a challenge. How do you do less of that client work without it impacting the day-to-day revenue stream, and lead the business in the way it needs to be led? So as we've grown, and I've known this for a few years, we will need more leadership time going in, and we will need to get more people doing the client work, because we're relatively small still. So that is a challenge. But again, we've brought people through, and we're working on one of the other goals is to make sure that we're training people in the advisory skill set they need. So before they're a partner, don't wait until they're a partner and then train them. Do it from the ground up. So teach them advisory skills. And that's probably another big thing that we're working on and starting to execute now. Putting in place some specific tasks that happen on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis that teach our team how to advise clients, so we can bring those through for the future, which allows the partners to run the business, or traditionally what was called partners, because we don't use that term. Allows those to do more of the leading of the company as we grow, because we're like any other business. As you grow, you will change.
Well, it's a good point. I mean, there's businesses in the room here, and I think a lot of us now are on that hamster wheel. You've heard the term working in the business, not on the business. So do you put time aside? Is there a budget there? Do you actually put hours in the diary or in the month to put aside for this strategy, this learning, this leadership?
Well, again, we've done it in project led. So we'll build working groups. We'll to work on certain aspects of that. So it doesn't all have to come from myself. But a big part of what I have to do on a day-to-day basis is lead. And some of that's got to be, you've got to create enough time to just do that on a day-to-day basis. And it isn't specific, but it is communication. It is listening, watching, supporting. and being involved on a day-to-day basis. But it's not. I don't do 3 days a week on this, 2 days a week on that.
Okay.
But I have actively worked on reducing my client portfolio gradually, and involving others in that, so that they're doing more exciting work as well. So that's the way I've done it.
I suppose you'll have clients in the room though that want Glyn.
Without a doubt, and that's fine.
You know.
That's fine as long as we bring in team to do more of the work. So gradually more, what I've been doing is purely the top end advisory work. Everything else, tax work, accounts work, audit work is led by other people within the firm.
Good.
And they also, it needs to be joined up. So part of that is making sure that I join it up. But again, we're teaching people how to do that so that I could be involved. I couldn't, but still deliver fairly well without me involved. Whereas you go back 5 or 6 years, that wouldn't happen. I'd be doing a lot of the detail. So I'm not doing much of the detail now.
That's interesting. So 5 or 6 years ago it was different. What about 5 or 6 years in the future? Is there a strategy in place? What does the future look like for Harlands?
Yeah, creating what we call lead advisors, traditionally what we call partners, bringing that role through. So now we are working on first creating something called a client manager who look after the clients, and then moving that into lead advisors. We know that we need to create more of them. So training them, like I said before, that advisory program, making sure we're putting the skills in now so that when we grow and continue to grow, we've got people coming through who want to do that role. And that would allow us to take on more and more clients and continue to do what we do really well.
Has there been an aha moment for you in this business over these years where just something's really just clicked and you thought, yes, that's what we're going to do?
There's a few books that I've read, moments in time. So you mentioned before working on the business, not in it. It comes from a book written by Michael Gerber called The E-Myth. When I read it, fundamentally changed my approach.
Okay.
So again, an aha moment when you read a book. Zero, another one. When somebody comes along and totally turns what you believe on its head, that is like, whoa, I can see the potential of this. So they're two good examples where just two things you see and can apply to what you do. Yeah.
It's interesting, as a leader, you're kind of top of the pack, you and the board. How do you nourish yourself? Who nourishes you? Have you got a mentor yourself?
Yeah, got a few actually. And I've done that regularly. I was a member at Vistage for 5 years. Vistage is a CEO type organisation where you get a bunch of CEOs in a room. We'll get some keynote speakers and then debate some issues in the afternoon. It exposes you to different leaders who are doing a similar thing to you, but in very different sectors. You learn huge amounts. And as part of that process, you also have one-to-ones with whoever the chair of that group is. Hugely beneficial because they'll hold you accountable.
Yeah.
They'll stop you kind of saying you're going to do this stuff and then not doing it. And I think that's quite powerful. Again, I am entrepreneurial in nature, so I will dot around quite a lot. And that's a good thing, as long as you keep that thinking going, but then decide what you're going to do and stick with it for a period of time. You still have the ideas, but don't wander around. So some of that comes from mentors and people who you trust feeding back. So at the moment, I've got 2 different mentors who work on different parts of what I do.
Yeah.
Some of it is kind of whole of self stuff, so making sure you're mindfulness and well in yourself, coming from within, which I think is really important, and I do believe going forward will be one of the most important things for all leaders. The second part is more business led. So where's the business going, and who's the team you're working with, and how are you doing in terms of progressing those things, and that works quite well.
Yeah. I can touch on the mindfulness, but I think you're right. I gave a talk the other day, and what I said was, actually, Brené Brown said something similar. Back in the day, like my dad was a shipyard worker, my grandfather worked in the pit, and they worked with the muscles, and now we work with our brains and hopefully with our hearts going forward. So, in terms of that mindfulness, that mindset piece, is this something that Harlands is front and center, that you want to make sure the culture is right, everyone is
without
healthy?
doubt? I think what we're saying again, back to, I don't like to define people by an age, but you've got a bunch of people in the majority coming into the workplace who are much more feelings led, much more. If you just look at the stat around how the average of how long people stay in a role, that would tell you the tradition was like, oh, you go in a bank and you stay there forever. That doesn't happen anymore. Okay. If you look at that average job tenure, it's reducing fast. So that part of it, in terms of the cultural piece and the what people believe in, is really important. We've got to weave that into our culture. So that I heard a phrase called purpose driven. We need to be purpose driven, not we need to make X amount of turnover and Y profit. It's got to be about a purpose. That's how you tap into that. And either people want to be part of that purpose or they don't, and that's fine. Make that okay. Be clear about it and engage within the recruitment process. So we're clear about our values, we're clear about what we stand for, and it's a choice. And people can choose to come to it and move away from it. Fine. That's very different in terms of how accountancy and professional services has been run previously. Again, it was in that sector where people would stay for a long period of time and kind of work their way up. We're seeing a very different mix now. And I think people will choose from a purpose point of view, so more feelings-led than thought-led.
It's interesting when I speak to business leaders, what we often say is that that mindset piece, that mindfulness, they very much want the workforce to be aware of it. But actually from a leader, sometimes you don't eat your own dog food, you're really hustling hard and you're checking emails and you're telling everyone else not to do, but then you do it. So how do you try to get that work-life balance?
Again, you look at the basics. So you've got to try and get the basics right. And I'm not saying that I do, but I try. And you stay focused on that regularly. So sleep, food, and exercise. If you can get those three things pretty well in place, do them first and then build anything else on it. It isn't easy to do on a week-to-week basis. It does get tricky. I've got a fairly busy life. But if you don't do that bit, things can get out of control. I think that's also something else from a leadership point of view. I probably didn't realise, and maybe I was like everybody else, I don't know, I can only think talk from my own experience. But when I was in a role where I was a team member looking up the leaders, I wondered what the hell they did. Genuinely did. So what the hell did they learn?
They're all nodding away going, yeah, what's that glitzy too?
Dead easy. Now when you're in that role,
it
is far from easy. There's way more thought, learning. You've got to juggle so many things. So I think unless you get the sleep and the food and the exercise bit right, that becomes quite brutal. And you can, and I would admit that I've got myself into some difficult positions by taking on too much and not looking after myself. I think that's key moving forward, and the team doing the same thing. So we have core values, and around those core values are some behaviours we articulated, and one of them is taking time away from your desk.
Excellent.
And we do actively, we don't manage it and force people, but we do actively talk about these behaviours because they're important. And you could sit in front of a computer screen for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, you will be ineffective for 40-50% of the time. Unless you take a break, unless you step away, unless you kind of refresh. So we know that now. We probably didn't back in 1992. So there's a lot of that knowledge you've got to keep on learning and bring in the organisation.
People might have heard going from a 5-day week to a 4-day week has been more efficient. So you've heard it here first. You touched upon learning, Glyn, a few times across the last sort of 30 minutes or so. How do you learn yourself? What's your chosen method?
I mentioned Vistage before. I've continued kind of that type of learning. So I do learn best from listening to someone talk and condensing that down into what I've learned is you can, initially when I used to listen to keynote speakers, I'll take 6 pages of notes. I'll still take notes, but at the end I will turn it into maximum 3. Probably 1 thing that I am actually going to do and do it. And it works. You've got to drill it down. You've got to take the time working out the one thing. That's how I learn best. So, and again, you can apply that to anything, TED Talks, anything that you listen to and go, it's interesting. Right, now what are you going to do? You need to apply it. So that's how I learn best. Go out there. And again, try and learn at a world-class level. Go as high as you possibly can. That's why I really like Vistage, because there's some people, I'm not sure how I ended up in the group with the people that I did, but you've got some absolute superstar businesses in there, way bigger than we are, who've been doing what they do and leaders in those businesses for a long time. You just listen. That's not new. Just listen. How did they do it? Have you come across this challenge before? Yeah. How did you overcome it? I did this. That's not even hard. But if you don't go up there to learn that stuff, you only know what you know. So you've got to go out there and learn as high as you can. So and technology's helped that massively. You listen to TED Talks. Now it's easy. But Google search in TED Talks, there you go. That didn't exist 10, 15 years ago. So you have to either read a book or talk to somebody else or communicate with somebody else. It wasn't as instant. So again, just try and keep the learning at as high level as possible. And when you have learned something, pick an action and do it. build it into the business, bring it into the business, bring it into what you do. That has more of an impact.
It's interesting when I've spoken to a lot of CEOs, and what you find is that actually these things are relevant. You talk there about, how much turnover they have or how many staff they have, but the challenges are very similar, and actually the imposter syndrome can sneak in as well.
Yeah.
You might say, that person is a real rock star, but actually when you get a chat, they're like, I'm panicking here, I'm really nervous, I feel out my depth,
Yeah. Well, you talked before about aha moments. There's a few that I've had when I've talked to people who ran businesses. One not far from here. I won't name them because it might be a bit embarrassing for them, but they talked about they've been in business 30 years. And he said, and he did swear, I won't swear. He said, for the first 20 years, I was messing around. He didn't use messing around.
We can guess.
And I went from X turnover to, let's say, £1 million.
Yeah.
The next 10 years, I've gone from £1 million to 140 million quid.
Right, okay.
He said, I don't even know what I was doing for
Really?
the first 20 years. But that's the point. Sometimes you reach a time when that is the time, and you've learned everything you've learned, so you're ready.
Yes.
I believe that. I do believe that. I don't think every business can go from that to that very fast. I think there's a time and a place.
I agree.
And sometimes the scale happens then, sometimes it doesn't. You've got to kind of think about that.
Yeah.
And it does take time to learn that stuff.
It takes 6 to 8 weeks to heal a broken leg, and you can't rush that. And I think you do have to maybe go through those decades of challenges and leadership, and then suddenly you get in the flow and things just start to work.
Yeah. And again, from my own leadership style, I know that the stuff that we've done within Harlands from 2011 to now will be with the business long after I'm not. That's my hope. And again, something else, another aha moment that struck me is if you get into an MD position, your job is to leave that business better than when you took it on. And that stuck with me. So what would that mean? How would I do that? Because that really defines what a good leader should do. It's not about you. It's about the business.
Yeah.
And when it's in professional services, it can be a lot about the person. And that took a long time to kind of sink in because there is a bit of personal pride in that. It's not about me anymore. Oh, how will I feel about that? It isn't about me.
Yeah.
It's about Harlands as a brand. And we've done a really good job, and a credit to the team. You can't do it on your own.
Yeah.
So the other thing, bring in brilliant people. Bring in people who are got it better than you.
Yeah.
They'll push the business on.
Sure. Yeah, they don't work for you. You work for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm really tempted to take some questions from the floor.
It's fine.
Should we do that? Are you all right with that?
Fire away.
Okay, then what we'll do is you're going to have to maybe shout up a little bit. I'll try and tilt this microphone around. I might repeat the question, so if you keep it quite short and succinct. So has anyone got any questions for Glyn? Yes, Paul?
What are you most proud of in your time of leading the business?
What are you most proud of, Glyn?
Good question. Definitely changing the culture. So from a mixed bag of people who've been with the business for a long time to new people, to being very clear about what our culture is. That was a tricky time, and you got to make some calls, some of them really hard. So people who you've known for a long time, again, some of the team members in the team will know this. You got to put your own feelings aside. Some of them hurt. Some of them hurt a lot personally. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of how I handled that, and I'm proud of making the right decision for the business as a whole and for its future. Because in time, we'll look back and go, that was the right decision. During it doesn't feel like it sometimes. So you got to put your own personal feelings aside, which isn't easy to do. It's been really hard. So I'm proudest of that. And we've now got a consistent culture is about Harlands culture. And it being clear about that. So when we're recruiting in, when people are questioning whether they should be here or not, it's very clear to be able to say, well, this is what we're about. We didn't have that previously. So I would say that's what I'm most proud of.
Yes, sir?
I've got a question. It's interesting to hear from an accountant. Work-life balance. Balance, yes, that's a balance sheet, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's like when you're a leader, sometimes I feel work-life balance is like a seesaw. And everybody else is on one end and you're balancing it out on the other end. So how do you balance your bit at the same time you have to balance the business?
Yeah, hard. You've got to work at that. You've got to build routines. So I have a weekly routine. So starts on a Monday, ends on a Friday, which I do every week and have done. It came from Pete Wilkinson, and a good shout out. Pete's an absolute star. And he talks about, amongst others, having a daily routine and a weekly routine. Daily's tricky for me. I have dabbled with that, never really turned that into a habit, which still work in progress. I think I'll get there in the end. But stick with those weekly routines. They work. And they're all about prioritizing every single week. What are the most important things? Are they in my diary? Well, first, what are the most important things? Second, what does my diary look like? Because at first, you look at those most important things and go, what does my diary look like? It was none a minute. So you've got to change that. If you do not change that, it will feel like you're being pulled along all of the time. You're out of control, and I'm going, whoa, how did I end up here? You've got to change that. If you can change that bit, that you've got more of a chance of getting your work life right. Build them in, and then review how you've done at the end of the week. You have to do that bit, because otherwise you'll just plan every week and not look at what happened, what worked, what didn't work, what's realistic, what's not realistic. So building those into weekly routines is really important.
That would work for me if there weren't clients there.
Slight problem with that. They pay the bills. That's the
Clients
problem.
and stuff. Get rid of them all. Anybody else for Glyn? Yes, Phil. Oh, right.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Where's this going?
What's the biggest mistake you've made?
Biggest mistake. Let's think.
Yeah. So many to pick from here.
Yeah. Probably say over-promising. I'd say taking on quite a lot and going a bit too far in terms of promising how you're going to deliver that, and actually saying you are going to do that. What it does do when you do that is reduce your quality. So I'll have took on some stuff in the past, and client can't afford that fee, so we go over the lower fee. What happens is everything gets shortcutted as a result of that, so it's poor quality. And you've overpromised. The outcome was what you wanted, and you knew what you needed to do that, but then you've reduced the fee, so it's never going to happen. So that will have happened a lot historically. I've got better at it, and again, you learn most from your mistakes. So I would say overpromising.
Can we relate to that? Maybe trying to over-deliver a little bit and stretching ourselves a little bit too much, yeah? Yeah, good stuff, thanks. Anybody else for Glyn? Oh, right at the back, right, okay, big voice.
If you could give the Glyn of 1992 one piece of advice, what would it be?
Great question.
Advice for the Glyn of 1992.
Yeah.
Don't have that haircut, maybe, back then.
I would say technology. Go for it. I've never been an early adopter. I am second phase. Don't know what that's called. But I'll always be a little bit cautious. I would say be early adopter. Because I was right most of the time, but I didn't do it for a bit after. That, definitely. Go for it. Because technology's changed the world. And we're not stopping yet. It's going to continue to do that. So had I done that 4 or 5 years earlier than I did, we'd have been further on as a practice by now.
Good stuff. Take some risks.
Yeah,
Put
definitely.
some time in. Yeah. Good.
It's easier with retrospect because you know technology
it is.
worked. And time doesn't feel like that. But
Yeah.
kind of just, take a few more risks.
Yeah.
What excites you most about the future then? After all of this you've learned, you've done, you've changed, you're still in here nearly 3 decades later, what are you excited about now?
Most excited.
Most
Again, the fact that technology will only speed up. I love that. I know what's happened over the last 10 years. And people go, oh, this has happened and that's happened and it's really fundamentally changed it. We ain't seen nothing yet. That's hugely exciting.
Does it not frighten you as well though? Because
Not at all.
not just a bit scary?
No, it's not. It was, and I know what happened previously, and we've got more of that to come. And again, it does scare lots of other accountancy firms. Good, and we have a team of people who are really comfortable with change. We've been through that pain. It is really hard, but that excites me. This team is really comfortable with technology and how it's going to, and not only me, it'll be them. So that puts us in a really strong position to grow. Where others haven't gone through that yet. And that if you're a bigger firm, that's much harder to do. Change the culture is really hard. So we've done cultural change early, and technology will help drive that in terms of demand and opportunity. So that's really exciting.
Good stuff. Any more questions? Oh, yes, Paul.
What's the most innovative thing you've done in the business?
The most innovative thing you've done in the business, Glyn?
Right. So that would be Lumo. So Lumo Tax is an R&D tax credit business that we could have kept that service line within Harlands. We chose not to because we looked at the opportunity. We looked at how we would grow that if it remained within the practice and how we could grow that if we took that into something different and specialised in it. That is possibly innovation. I think it is. I think it's the innovation is in professional services. It's really hard to have to segment what you do, and the definer was that the ability for that to go faster was there. The opportunity for that to go faster. We knew that R&D tax rate's going to change at some point. So there's a period of time where we've got to get this right. So that part, and also thinking about tax as a subject within general practice. At some point, you've got to kind of specialise in what you do. That fitted for us. We had some good people who were really passionate about tax, and there's an opportunity. So the innovative piece is going for that in the right way. Hive that out, turn that into a separate business, get a strategy, get a business plan, and that doesn't happen that often in professional services. We'll just keep it all under one roof and we'll do it that way, is the easy default. So doing that, I think, was innovative.
Yes?
If you had to describe Harlands using one word, what word would you use?
Ooh, describe Harlands in one word.
Oh, man.
Wow.
That's a hard question.
Cruel.
Not the word.
No, that's the other way.
Are we live, by the way?
Tricky. I'm going to go with awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. I'll pick awesome.
What would the client say?
Can't answer that
Do you
one.
want to ask them? No. Yeah. What would the client say? Describe Harlands in one word.
Glyn.
Glyn.
Oh.
Nice. Ah, it's very nice. Good stuff.
I see. Motivated or trusting.
Okay. Good. Good. Any more questions for Glyn? No? I don't know if anyone knows the format of this, but what happens after this, we have a...
No, no. What's happening here? That's an ominous look.
No,
No, no, Dan, please, no.
We don't dance. We don't. Maybe later. We have a lightning round. And what I do is I ask Glyn questions for about a minute or so that his colleagues have gave me.
Oh, no.
Honestly, it took me a good 20 minutes to vet these as I got.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So, Andy, would you mind giving me a minute on your phone?
I don't have the pulse one, unfortunately.
Yeah, normally we'll have a horn. Yeah, don't go there. It's on you, Andy. Tell me when.
These one-word answers, or?
Yes, let's go quick. Let's try and get as many as you can in a minute.
Okay, fine.
Okay, texting or talking?
Talking.
Favourite day of the week?
Sunday.
Favourite city in the UK?
In the UK, London.
Nickname your parents used to call you?
Not my parents, but I'll go Glyndo.
Favourite holiday?
New York.
How long does it take you to get ready?
20 minutes.
Scale of 1 to 10, how good a driver are you?
9.
Fill in the blank. Oh. Fill in the blank.
What's that about?
Taylor Swift is a...
Hottie.
Proudest moment?
Qualifying as an account.
First celebrity crush?
Taylor Swift.
Do you snore?
No.
Favourite junk food?
Kebab.
Have you ever worn socks with sandals?
No.
Do you respect Conway West?
No.
Do you like the word dapper?
Dapper? No.
Do you know how to salsa dance?
No.
If you could travel back in time, what period would you go to?
Oh. 80s.
80s. Name one of the 7 dwarfs.
Grumpy. That's what came to mind.
Yeah, we're there. Well done. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
Now, normally that's it. But the questions I got, I thought, nah. Are you all right with this? Because this is a bit savage.
Okay.
This is
Let's go with it.
absolutely brutal.
Let's go with it.
Can you, if you're part of the team in Harlands, would you mind putting your hand up, please? Oh, wow. Okay, sorry. That's all I'm saying. We don't need time for this because I really want to get through them all. So, messiest desk.
Oh. Hang on. Got a short list. Actually, mine's not great, so I'll have to caveat that. I would go. It's got to be between 3. David Cudlip, Jacqueline, and Sophie. I'll take 3. Good point. 4. She must have tidied us up when I had a look around this afternoon.
Look at Darren laughing at the back. Most annoying laugh. Oh, I'm sorry. It's don't shoot the messenger here. I know.
Actually, I'm not sure it's annoying, but I have to go with it because everyone knows this laugh. It's got to be Sophie.
Sophie.
It's gotta be Sophie.
Right. Okay. Sophie. Yeah. Okay. Do you want to put your hand up so I know it's you?
Just laugh.
Just laugh. Yeah.
There you are. See?
Most likely to want to slap.
Ooh.
No one does.
Probably Darren with his,
Yeah,
with his
yeah,
football
yeah.
gags.
Yeah, yeah. I'd slap Darren.
Yeah. He's a big lad, like, so you got to be
He's
careful.
a big lad. Like, I'll slap from here. Worst singer.
It's got to be Sophie again. Sorry.
That's fine. That's fine. Best banter.
Best banter.
Good feels like pick me.
No, I go for JJ. I'll go for Jordan.
Right, Jordan. Good
crack.
stuff.
Well, sometimes
Okay.
weird crack as well. Apart from his car stuff.
I think I know the answer to this. Worst cuppa maker.
It's got to be David Goodlip. That's for me.
Okay, best then.
Best. Kaylee. Definitely Kaylee. Makes
Yeah.
brilliant coffee.
If you could add one thing to the office, what would it be?
More seats at the moment.
Okay. Who sends too many emails?
All of us.
Right. Okay.
We built collaborative communication in for that reason. So people just send an email across the office from there. They're like, what's that about? Get up and talk to each other. So we still send too many emails to each other.
So who's the loudest on the phone?
Loudest on the phone. Simon Boyson. Definitely.
Is Simon here?
Yes.
Yes. Thanks, Simon.
To be fair, you deaf in one ear, aren't you?
What's that?
Give you the fiver later.
Right. Yeah. Who's got the worst taste in music?
Anybody who likes like grime and that rap rubbish. Dom. I'll go with Dom. He likes
Dom.
that stuff.
That's it. You're off the hook.
Excellent.
You're off the hook. I tell you what it is. You honestly, transparency, authenticity, a heart on your sleeve leader. That was amazing, Glyn. Thanks so much, and thanks for your time. Thanks for sharing so much wisdom.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed it.